Bruce. We're appreciative of you being on and mention the game Saturday night. We'll start off with that. Then I've got a basketball question to ask you.
Okay. Well, good to be with you guys, Barry and Wimp. I'm excited about coming to Birmingham. It's right there in the center of the state, and we had a great game last year against Middle Tennessee. A couple years ago, we played up in Bartow against UAB, and I asked some of my players that year what was the best environment they played in, and they thought that game against UAB where about 70% of the crowd was UAB, but there were 30% or so Auburn fans, and it was a tournament atmosphere type of a contest. Barry, we played them for the last 3 years, and I think the total margin of our 3 victories it's less than 10 points, maybe close to 7 or 8. I mean, they've been last possession or 2 games, and so it's been a great series. I'm glad to be able to come back to Auburn and renew it. We hadn't played them since Ellis left, and it's been a great warm up for us as we've tried to get ready for conference play, and I think it's something that our fans and our players enjoy.
Bruce, I have followed you all the way, and you were working with Steve Newton and all the way through your career. You're playing so differently now, which is good. I mean, you're shooting so many threes, and I think it's maybe a new concept. Nobody, I don't think, shooting the number of threes that you are. Are you now recruiting? I guess you are guys that really, number one, shoot it well first before you do anything else in the recruiting. Is that the main? And how did you decide to play like this? Because it's very, very successful.
Well, Coach, the great Hayden Fry, the football coach in Iowa, used to say, "Scratch where it itches." In other words, Iowa's football teams he felt were never so dominant to take the field against Michigan or Ohio State and be able to line up always with them. But take a look at what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are and go with that.
Right.
And so I've always sort of coached that way. At the same time, I'm kind of a simple man. 3's worth more than 2. I'm going to shoot that 3 because it's worth more than 2. And the percentages have always, have been that way. And I think the pundits, they say, live by the 3, die by the 3, have never coached with a 3-point game, with a 3-point shot in the game. And as far as the recruiting thing is concerned, again, I don't think we've got the luxury to always select. We got to take the best players that we can. You know what? I don't know that I recruit shooting as much as we really work to sort of develop it and give guys confidence. I mean, shooting's about confidence. And so we try to give them the confidence that if they can take them, they can make them.
Coach, I respect you coach like everybody wants to do it, but they don't have the guts to do it. And everybody says, "Oh, they're taking bad shots." Well, no, that's the way you play, and you guys have tremendous spacing on the floor. I know because we tried to coach against you in South Carolina, but you guys space the floor well, and you do let them take the shot, and other people don't have the guts. I know I probably wouldn't have the guts to coach that way. Just talk about that.
Barry, here's the trade-off. The trade-off is if you will play hard with a great effort and energy, then I'm going to try to give you a little bit more freedom offensively, even if sometimes either pundits or people just say, "God, that's a terrible shot," and they're not a very well-coached team, and there's no discipline. And so there's a fine line you walk between empowering your players, and you're right. You're right. That was a bad shot. That was early. It was ill-conceived. There was no backside rebounding position. There was no advantage, disadvantage. And we don't want to take many of those shots. But part of what we also do is we do build an offensive rebounding component to when we shoot the ball. And so sometimes if a guy will take a 3-point shot that is either in transition or within the framework of what we do, and we don't get the offensive rebound, I'll be more upset with the other 4 guys out there for not bailing their teammate out. You 4 guys that says to bail him out, and you stood there and watched and let him sink or swim on that shot. So those would be some of the things that we would look to try to do to to value the possession.
Coach, we're here in Tuscaloosa, and Coach Saban has the process. Everybody hears the process, and nobody really knows what the process is. When you took over Auburn, you won't say it, I will. It was a dumpster fire. But I told people, I said, he is going to energize those people like you've never seen before. What is Bruce Pearl's process? Because you've gone in there now with Tony Barberie. They were 11-20, 15-16, 9-23, 14-16. You went in there. Dad always says don't win too many the first year. You didn't. 15-20, 11-20, then 18. Now 26. Now you're 8-1, headed to another high 20s. What is Bruce Pearl's process?
Well, that's a great question. I'll tell you what, if you're any good at anything, get a pretty good teacher. You know, Dr. Tom Davis, and went up against Tom and saw Tom, and he was just a real solid fundamental teacher. And anyways, I've tried to follow what he taught me. It's not a lot of stuff we do is old. It's just old. I mean, we run a flex cut. Who runs the flex?
You do.
You know, but we spread it out and we build on it, and you know, so that's part of it. I think, gosh, Barry, I mean. You got to make people a part of the solution, not part of the problem, and so we've done that with our fan base, and we promised them we'd play hard, not always play well. We've involved our guys in the community in a big way, you know, and those are the kind of things that you can do. I'll tell you what, hire great staff, you know, get guys around you that are great fathers and really good men, and try to do a good job there. Give God the glory first and foremost. You know, for what we're doing, and recognizing, you know, how he, you know, put a hedge of protection over us a year ago and blessed us. I think God won't always bless you. God is not always going to bless you when you do the right thing. He's not. But I think at least you give yourself a chance to be blessed by trying to do things, you know, the right way. We try to discipline the student athletes and hold them as accountable as we can, you know, to what they're supposed to be doing academically and other ways. And again, those things I think have a chance to be rewarded.
Now, I'm not coaching your team. I couldn't coach mine, so I'm not coaching your team by asking this question.
Coach, he's getting ready to coach. He's getting ready to coach your team, Coach.
No,
whenever he says it like that,
I am not coaching his team. I don't coach his team.
All I got to say is scoreboard, Coach. All right, when you were at Alabama, they were as good as anybody in the league. And that was a fact. So go ahead.
He's getting ready to coach your team, by the way, Coach. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The only thing I'm fixing to say is that he's got a very, very good inside player. And does it concern you some, or maybe it doesn't, concern you some that maybe he doesn't get the basketball quite as much as he needs to get? Now, you know, I know I went and I didn't coach as good as you did. I went inside to get outside. I'd throw the ball back to the weak side.
Right.
I practice that every day. My only question is, do you feel like, what do you feel like about the question I've asked?
I agree with you. I do. And here's where I'll go with it. I think that one of the areas that players have the greatest weakness is their ability to throw the ball inside. The post can be wide ass open, and they can't get it there. I mean, they could make a trick shot, and they could do the impossible alley-oop lobs, and they can make a three from anywhere, but they can't take the ball and throw it 15 feet in the post. I mean, it's unbelievable. I don't see it. We don't reverse it properly, and so the art of feeding the post is something that is underdeveloped. And but I agree with you. We also could do it. We could get it there more often. And we also could do a better job of going inside out, because the one thing about a lot of good post offenses, and yours was one of them, people would look at dribble penetration as a way to get the ball inside out first and foremost, and that makes sense because your guards are able to get into the lane and then go inside out when heads are turned, close out, advantage offense. You could do the same thing in the post, and we probably need to do a better job of teaching that and taking advantage of it.
Well, I think that's a good answer, and it's a good question, because I think all of us would, with a guy like that. Well, I would too. I would be concerned. I was worried about whether we were getting the ball to Derek McKee enough. You know, wasn't sure, and I think he probably feels the same way with the kid he has.
Coach, you said earlier in the segment, doing the right thing doesn't always pay off. But do you take what Jalen Hurts did here and use that as an example with your players to teach people to always be ready? What an example that is for all coaches across this country at all levels.
Yeah, but that's another great question. It the very first practice, the very next day, we talked about it, and we did talk about what were some of the characteristics that we had heard that Jalen possessed. And I made my guys go around the room and kind of answer the question themselves as to what they had either heard or what they thought about what kind of teammate he was, what kind of leader he was. You know, adversity reveals character. It doesn't build character. So when you have an opportunity and you're going through something adverse, you have an opportunity to shine and separate yourself from everybody. I mean, it was a lot easier to be Jalen when he was playing and winning and starring. It was a lot harder to be a great teammate when he wasn't, and yet he did. And so he took advantage of that opportunity to demonstrate his character. And then the second thing is he stayed right and he stayed ready. He stayed right and ready, and which was ultimately being a great teammate. And as coaches, we promise those kids, look, you're going to get another shot. You're going to get. The question is, are you going to be right and ready?
Yeah.
Or will your attitude have taken you so far south, and when you've had such a pity party for yourself that when your time comes, you're not ready to answer the bell? And so, what a great example that he set for all of our young people.
Yeah, no doubt. People say that this is a football state, and it is. But Dad did it at Alabama. I mean, they had incredible home court advantage here. You know what his record was, Coach, in the non-conference in Tuscaloosa? 89-1 at home. You have created an environment there. I think y'all call it the jungle. I may be wrong. But I think it's the best environment, maybe in college basketball, for sure in the SEC. And we got people that call our show that tell us a home court and home field advantage don't mean that much. Please tell us about that, how you've done that.
Well, let me tell you two things. First thing that jumps out to me is, anytime you're going to talk about WIP, you better talk about stunning. Because you can't hard to talk about WIP without talking about stunning. Now, stunning will tell you that he had a great non-conference record also, but he won't give the home court advantage to the crowd or his coach any credit, just like WIP won't. The only difference is Sonny will have to say, that's because I played Savannah State, Coppin State, and somebody else State. Sonny will just kind of, that's because they didn't play nobody. That was supposed to be funnier than what it actually was. But, anyway.
You're exactly right. I'll tell you.
But talk about the home court advantage there, though. Seriously, I mean, you guys got the best environment for sure in the SEC.
Well, I think the first thing that jumps out to me is I'm on staff here at Auburn, all right? And part of my job as a staff member at Auburn, as basketball coach, is to make sure that this is something that the students are going to enjoy. We're here first and foremost to them. And so, we work for that. The second thing is, you got to do something between football and spring football, don't you? We got to have a season in between those two seasons. And so, and helping recruiting at Auburn is important. I think the third thing is this: a home court advantage, will not always bother your opponent. It won't. Real good teams, it doesn't bother the opponent. But sometimes it can make men out of cowards. Occasionally, it can elevate a younger player who's having some doubt. Give him some confidence. And then he gets a little confidence, and then you can take him on the road. And have him be, more challenged. So it does. I think it does make a difference. And, now there are some teams that will also play a style of play that is conducive to success at home. Like they may foul too much at home. It never gets called. Then they go on the road. They can't win a road game because they foul too much. So you got to make sure that you play a system that will travel. Defense and rebounding travels. And that's one of the things that we worked hard to get better at. Defending, rebounding without fouling, that'll get you wins at home and on the road.
Yep.
Well, I think that's exactly right. You got to have something that'll travel. I look at some of these officials, and I know we're playing freedom of movement, but there's you want to, if you want to call the foul on the guy touching the guy going to the basket with the ball, okay. But for a guy coming across the 10-second line, you put your hands on him a little bit. Let's leave that off. I mean, let's let them play, and we're not. It's all according to the individual person calling the game. Some want to show you how well they can call it, and some have been in it so long they don't think they're going to get fired, so they call it the way they want to call it.
Coach, let me say something about that. Something jumps out to me on that. One was a comment that Sonny Spitz said during our game, a broadcast last year. He's with Rod Bramlett. We were up 10 at Georgia with about a minute left to go in the game, and Rod started talking about the fact that this game was over. And Sonny said, whoa, Rod, hold on a second. There are still 3 officials out there. This game is not over.
Yeah.
All right, he said that, and I know that's something that you maybe have thought about a time or two.
Well, I do. I just think it's this day and time. It's sort of how the individual official wants to call it. Schedule-wise, I gave up trying to get a whole lot of good teams. We had North Carolina come in here, and we played UCLA there and so forth. But so I went to tournaments. That way I could play a good team on a neutral court. I think I don't know what the answer is for you, because you need as many home court games as you can get because of your crowd. But it's not. I was a little bit surprised that you brought Washington in, because that's a long trip back out to Washington next year.
Well, you know what? We they actually called us on that one.
Oh, they did. Good.
Yeah, they did. Because Coach, interestingly, now with all the systems for getting in the tournament, we're a better team to play because there's a nice prize on our head. You know, beating Auburn at Auburn years ago wasn't always easy, but you got no credit for doing it because you're supposed to do it. Yeah. Now, beating Auburn at Auburn, it's still not easy, but you get a little bit more credit for it because of where we're ranked and because of the schedule that we play. So that's how we got that game. I agree with you about tournaments, playing them on neutral sites. That's why we went to Maui. We were able to get Xavier and get Arizona, lost the opportunity to beat Duke. But I think that's important. And then, there's got to be a balance. You got to play a tough enough schedule to win enough games to get the tournament, play a tough enough schedule to get rewarded by the committee with a decent seed, but can't play too tough a schedule because when you get into league play, a game or two over 500, and you're a game or two out of first place, in the league. So there's a balance in there. But I do see this: if you don't play a very tough schedule, you tell your players in the non-conference, you tell your players and your fans and the committee, I don't think we're very good.
All right. Yeah, Coach, last quote I know you got to get. Daniel Purefoy is eligible now. Yeah. How do you add a great player like that back? You guys kind of gotten used to playing a certain way. Sometimes adding a guy is not as easy as people think. What's the process to adding him back into your rotation?
That's a great question. Another great question. Listen, Daniel hasn't played in 21 months. 21 months was the last time he played a regular season game. And so you talk about having to get the rust off him. So you bring him back slowly. You also, I talked to the team yesterday. Our motto this year was unfinished business this year. Not because we didn't have a good year last year or win an SEC championship. Our unfinished business was at the end of the year, we were down to 7 or 8 scholarship players at the end of the year because of injuries and holding a couple of kids out because of the inquiry involved in the NCAA. And so we limped home at the end of the year. We went to the SEC tournament, and Alabama smashed us in the second half of the tournament. We barely got by Charleston to win an NCAA tournament game, and Clemson destroyed us. Well, we were at 7 or 8 players. And so we got unfinished business. So bringing D'Angelo back gives us 9, now 10 healthy bodies. We have 10 right now. And so that gives us a chance to withstand injury or foul trouble as this team continues to grow and advance. Bring him back slowly. He'll play 3 and 4. He won't play a ton of minutes early, but I'm going to give him a chance to grow into whatever role he deserves. And we're really excited about having him back. Really happy for D'Angelo, but it's not going to be an instant. Yeah, it's not going to be an instant classic the minute he takes the floor.
All right, last question. Who would you let shoot more threes, Wimp or Sonny?
Sonny.
You better if you're playing either one of them, you're not going to have the job long. I can just let you know that.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think I think I would want both of them to set screen.
That's good. Thanks, Bruce. We appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Have a good game. Have a good game Saturday night. Thank you for being on.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, if people want to go to BJCC, I think .com. That's how they can still get tickets to that game in Birmingham.